Welcome to Hotline TV. I'm Quinn McCord.
And I'm Tim Sod. It may be recess, but back home, some members can't catch a break.
Some of those members are more endangered than they were previously, and some are less endangered.
Right.
Timothy,
That's how it works.
Which members of Congress would you say are more endangered than they were just a couple weeks ago, maybe?
Right. And for Democrats, obviously, this is going. We did our top 25 list in the House, and obviously, Democrats populate that list pretty fully.
So out of those 25, like how many are vulnerable Democrats? Would you say roughly?
I would say about 20 or 22.
Wow.
22, I think.
All right.
So it's this is not going to be a year where Democrats are on the offensive, and only a few open seat races where will they see any advantages. Now, some of the bigger problems we see now are due to the healthcare vote and sort of the fallout after that. And so the immediate fallout, we see Betsy Markey and Suzanne Cosmas, two no votes on the first time healthcare came through, switched over to yes votes. Now, they're playing it rather differently. Betsy Markey in Colorado, she represents a very Republican district, or a marginally Republican district. Betsy Markey voted no and then voted yes for the Senate bill. She also voted yes on cap and trade and on the stimulus, which now will give her Republican opponent double the ammo, triple the ammo, with which to go after her in a Republican conservative district. And also her Republican challengers have gotten their acts together, and they're forming behind one candidate now. So it seems like a perfect storm is forming for Betsy Markey. But she's also rallied the base with her vote for the health care bill. She raised over $500,000 last quarter, $360,000, which was after she decided to vote for the health care bill, which was only 2 weeks left in the quarter. So she galvanized her base. The question is, will she galvanize voters in that Republican district with
There's only
that
one
vote?
poll that matters. That's on election day.
That's on election day. I haven't heard that before.
How about Cosmas?
Susan Cosmas, she's taken a rather different approach. She's not being as out front and as forceful in defending her vote. She's sort of staying back and staying in the limelight. I don't know if that's who knows what's the best way to approach this in Republican districts. But Cosmas is not being as forthright in defense of her vote. She was also, like I said, one that flipped. And so we'll see if that works. I'm not quite sure if it will.
Are any Democrats actually seemingly safer now?
Because of the vote?
Yeah.
We'll go with, in general, on our list, some guys that move down, and it's not because their races are going to be safe throughout, but they're moving down the list. They're less endangered right now, but they're going to pop back up, and that's Bobby Bright and Walt Minnick, two very conservative Democrats who represent very Republican districts. Bobby Bright's in Alabama, in Montgomery, and Walt Minnick is in Idaho. Now, they're in very Republican districts. They voted very solidly on the major issues with Republicans. They're giving their opponents less to target, the Republican opponents, and the Republican opponents are also having a tough time getting a united voice in each of those primaries. Those primaries are very scattered and very scattered. So it's going to be very difficult for the next few months for one Republican, a united voice, to go against these Democrats. Once they will, and once things foment, the nature of these districts are going to make sure these guys go right back up into the very competitive column. But right now, they're sort of hanging low.
Yes, and that's all very interesting, Tim. But let's face it, Senate races are inherently more interesting than House races.
I hadn't heard that.
Yes, well, I'm saying it. I'm sure you've said it in the privacy of your own room. But in terms of there hasn't been as much movement on the Senate races, as far as I can tell. I mean, obviously Connecticut, once Dodd dropped out, and like you said, it's not so much that Connecticut is uncompetitive, but compared to all these races that have popped, it just keeps falling down.
Falling down the list of priorities, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's all the action is on the Republican primary. No one's laid a hand on Dick Blumenthal, so I think we have Connecticut is ranked like the 17th most likely to flip. I mean, it's really far down there. If you want to talk things that have marginally moved up, it's like something like California, maybe Florida have started to look a little more competitive than maybe it had previously. But the main thing you look at is of the top 10 races, the top 8 races, the top 8 races are all Democratic seats.
And of course, if all those flip and none of the others do,
then that's enough to not give Republicans control of the majority, but I mean almost there.
Yeah.
And the main thing, these Republican open seats like Missouri, Ohio, New Hampshire, it's not that these are any safer or less likely to flip. Is that all these Democratic seats
have just popped right up.
I mean, obviously Indiana, no one was looking at that. That's popped up. Pennsylvania seems neck and neck.
Yep.
Colorado's also neck and neck. And then those you have to say, well, in what could be a wave election, those are probably more vulnerable than all these Republican open seats. But, individually, any of them could go any other way. Other thing we're looking at, though, is in the teens, the high teens, a few races, as late as it is, we're in April now, we still aren't sure whether, Dino Rossi will run in Washington or Tommy Thompson in Wisconsin.
We have these late filing deadlines, late primaries. It affords them that chance, but doesn't it then hurt you later on? Although Tommy Thompson and Dino Rossi, certainly well known in their parties, certainly probably be able to clear the fields, things like that.
They're taking the Bob Ehrlich tack, which is just, announce a month before the election day, don't let anyone hit you, wait till the last minute, and see what happens.
Well, we'll see if it works.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you keep hearing things that those folks will likely run, but we'll have to wait till hopefully not the filing deadline, but maybe.
Right.
All right, Tim, final words.
Sure.
Back to the House. Will the NRCC have enough money to take advantage of those openings that you talked about?
That's the big question. A lot of people think that a lot of people think that it's possible Republicans will have a very good day, but they're going to leave some races on the table. They've raised $5-6 million. They have $5-6 million in the bank. Democrats have nearly $20 million. Obviously Republicans are going to be able to pick up financing and fundraising as the cycle moves along, but they've also got to spend it on several costly special elections. So they're not going to have all the money they want. No committee ever does. But the question is, do they leave races on the table as they get to 40? And if they do, that's certainly going to hurt them when it comes to getting the majority.
Well, those May special elections in Pennsylvania and Hawaii, those are very exciting. I can't wait to read about them in today's House Race Hotline.
They'll be there.
Unfortunately, we are just about all out of time today.
That was exaggerated. Until next time, we'll see you on Hotline TV.